Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl definitely seem to be very interesting games packed full of content. However, when it comes down to it, I really do think this is the most definitive Pokemon experience. Hello, my fellow viewers and subscribers, and this is Superchocolatemilkshake, and I am here with, well, actually, yeah, you guessed it, I'm talking about Pokemon Legends Arceus. Okay, first of all, just to let you know, actually, I ended up bumping up 2 videos a little bit, because unfortunately, they may take a little more time to edit. To give you a slight teaser, it is about Animaniacs Season 2, and also it will be about, and the other video will be about Space Jam, both 1 and 2. Okay, so I'll be working on those, but in the meantime, I think I'll talk about this because it's going to be a rather quick video, but honestly, I do stand by my statement, and actually, I've been excited for Pokemon Arceus since the first trailer dropped. Yes, I was excited for it when the first trailer dropped. I know a lot of people actually kind of tore Game Freak apart for the first trailer, but you know, I gotta stand by Game Freak on this one, okay? At least they showed us some game footage, and they didn't give us some fancy animated CG trailer that didn't contain any actual game footage. You know, they didn't do anything like that. Basically, what they did was they gave us gameplay, okay? At least they showed us what they were working on. A big, new, open-world Pokemon 3D game, and that's what I liked about it. Well, this next trailer that just dropped of recent, which is the reason why I'm doing this video, actually has, well, actually shows way more potential in the project because it looks like they got their frame rate issue fixed. Which, yeah, I knew Game Freak was going to do anyway. I mean, honestly, they had like about a year out to fix most of the issues. And honestly, I'd say that's a fair amount of time. I would honestly give it about a couple more months though, too. I was hoping that they would have a bit of a March or a, July release, but no, it seems like they're releasing in January, which I do have a little bit of a problem with that time frame because, well, don't forget, January is shortly after December, and as you know, Christmas is in December, and Christmas is a time that eats money out of everybody's wallets. Doesn't matter if the pandemic's going on or not. Though, honestly, I hear Christmas shopping is going to be very scarce this year, and it's going to be pretty expensive. So yes, it's really going to eat up a lot of money from people's wallets. So, unless you plan to pre-order the game, well, kind of good luck getting some money and trying to get your hands on this game. But honestly, I would say that this is the most definitive Pokemon experience. What Pokemon on Next Gen should be like. Because it looks like a rather really big open world where Pokemon encounters can happen almost randomly, and actually, these Pokemon will attack you at random, which I think is actually a very fantastic idea for a Pokemon game. Because then, of course, it would feel a little more like how they portrayed it in the anime, where... Okay, yeah, I know, people criticize the anime, but I'll give it one thing for sure. Actually, it is a little more accurate to life when it comes down to actual encounters, where the Pokemon will just randomly attack people for no apparent reason, and people sometimes have to dodge them too. It's kind of dangerous to go out alone, which is why you have to take a Pokemon around with you. Which, of course, you know, is kind of the very basis of the game. I think that's a really good idea to just have it so that you have to be actively on your toes dodging some of these Pokemon attacks. I think that's a really fantastic idea. Having this rather big open world really helps out too. I think the flying mode is definitely going to be wonderful to use around too. Actually, tell you the truth, I think I'm going to, once I get my hands on a flying Pokemon, I think I'm going to stick to the flying mode instead of using quick travel, because I think that's going to be a much funner way to get around and you get a view of the landscape. And honestly, I guess when it comes down to it for encounters, it gives you a better idea of how to plan out your strategy and how you're going to, well, sneak up on some of these Pokemon, you know? Trying to use the terrain to your advantage, which I think is a really fantastic idea. Also, that kind of gets me to the other things, too, where honestly you could just toss a ball and hope for random chance that you capture that Pokemon. You know, instead of having it like in the past where you get encountered into a random battle and then, of course, oh, yeah, you have to, wear the Pokemon out and such, and it kind of breaks the pace of the game, you know? Instead, here, it looks like they give you the choice to either battle the Pokemon first, or to capture it first, which I think is a really fantastic idea, and is not really that big of a pace breaker. In fact, this pace breaker is even seen in Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu, too, where, you know, they just kind of stop the game for a moment to show you, oh, you encountered this Pokemon. Guess what? Well, here you go. You're gonna have to capture it, or... yeah. And honestly, I think that's actually a really good idea, especially when it comes down to the sense of the game. And that means you could also just skip some of these encounters completely and totally if you wanted to. I mean, you get to play the game the way you want, which is something that I think a lot of people of Pokemon, a lot of Pokemon fans have been wishing for the longest time too. I guess you also get to experience the story and the world any way you want to, which is something that I wish they would also do with mainline titles too. I mean, Sword and Shield is kind of disappointing because, unfortunately, well, if it was me developing Sword and Shield, I would have based everything around the main world, left the towns kind of the way they were, and also made it so that the gyms used the routes, so that you had to take the route and challenge all these trainers going up the route to get to the final gym in the final battle. I mean, that would have been interesting. But honestly, I think what they're doing here is absolutely fantastic, and to tell you the truth, they're trying to do like a bit of a Breath of the Wild thing here, and I really love the idea. And another thing that I think they should also add too, that would make the things really interesting though, is adding rule sets. You know, kind of like how Monopoly has house rules. Like the video game versions of Monopoly has house rules. I mean, almost every video game version of Monopoly has house rules. Landing on free parking. That is the primary one that a lot of people go for. Basically, I think they should do something like that with Pokemon, too. So you could either play it by the standard Pokemon rule set, or you could set it up to be like a Nuzlocke run, or like a different type of run, or something rather spicy and interesting to spice up your gameplay, you know? And that would give a lot of people a lot of incentive to play the game a little bit different, too, and explore the styles, and to see what the game's about, and all that other stuff. I think that would be rather interesting, and it gives Nuzlocke runners, like, some really good respect, too, since these guys have been around for years. The Nuzlocke community is actually pretty huge, and there's a lot of fun and interesting stories that actually come out of Nuzlocke runs. I think a lot of people would actually love to have a bit of a Nuzlocke mode inside the Pokemon game, too. I think that's an idea that people would love. If they're not going to be able to put it in this game, that's fine. I think if they put it inside the next mainline title, though, I think that would be absolutely fantastic, along with a bit of a hard mode and such. And, I mean, having that big open world and having it based off of that open world where you get to experience the story in the world and you get to learn more about the characters at your own pace instead of having the game force everything down your throat. Because, I mean, that's the one thing that a lot of the Pokemon games have done ever since the very first game. Well, okay, the very first game wasn't so bad because at least the story was kept to a fair minimum. It was just about you trying to challenge all the gym leaders and also stop Team Rocket along the way. But basically, when it comes down to it, it is something that's been around since the very first game, and tell you the truth, it's been something that has, like I said, it's been something that's been a criticism for many a Pokemon fan for many a year. So honestly, I think this is actually going to be a rather exciting new step for Pokemon, and honestly, I am super excited for it. If people are still ripping apart Game Freak for this, first of all, I have to say, you do not know a single thing about game development, because, well, first of all, I will give them credit for Sword and Shield, okay? They did do their best with Sword and Shield here. I mean, honestly, I gotta give Game Freak some credit because at least they didn't let the power go to their heads, because tell you the truth, we're talking about a huge power jump. These guys worked on the 3DS, first of all. You know, a game console that didn't have no more than, like, what, maybe 1 gig of memory and maybe, like, 1 gigahertz of processing power? Actually, not even that. And they're jumping up to a console that probably has like 3, maybe 2, I forget. And like 4 gigs of memory. Now, I know some people may go like, that's not a lot. That's not a huge number jump. And really, the numbers wise, it isn't. But to a developer, and this goes for any developer, software, engineering, hobbyist, that is a humongous leap. Like a seriously huge leap. Honestly, some people really just do not know how to understand it, which is also part of the problem why the PlayStation 3 was so bad at launch, because nobody really knew how to use the hardware or technology. Why the Xbox 360 was also very clunky at launch, because sometimes some of the people really had a hard time using that type of hardware too. Why a lot of games that use ray tracing, really, you can't tell the difference between the non-ray traced modes and the ray traced modes sometimes, because, well, duh, the non-ray traced modes looks just as good as the ray traced modes, because some of these people have only learned to use this much hardware, and honestly, using that much hardware has made you smarter. You worked around your issue. Instead of bashing through your issues and adding more ideas on top of it. You just worked around the issues and came to a really good solution, somewhere in the middle. Something that the hardware agrees with, and something that you can use and something that you can use and adds playability to the game. So like I said, I gotta give Game Freak some credit here, because, you know, again, that type of hardware leap is pretty huge, and I gotta give... So, at least they didn't go hog wild and release a really, really buggy, glitchy game on launch. At least it was a fairly solid experience. Granted, not the best Pokemon experience, but a solid experience nonetheless. But honestly here, it looks like they took some of the best aspects of Sword and Shield and kind of made it a much better game. So like I said, I think some people really need to back off Game Freak and give them a little bit more slack, because they are trying their best. They are taking lessons. They are taking hints. They are doing everything that they can to make sure that they give out the best Pokemon experience ever. And because there's so many people who also like the movie Detective Pikachu out there, because, well, let's face it, it was a really, really good movie. I mean, they're going to be bringing in a whole slew of Pokemon fans, so honestly, this next game is not going to disappoint. Now let's just hope the same story holds for Sonic. I mean, okay, Sonic Colors is really of no issue, because again, if that game bombs, well, we always have the original. But, you know, with Sonic Rangers, well, that's a whole other subject and a whole other video in general. So, anyway, what do you think, guys? Do you think I'm crazy, or do you think I have my hopes too high for Sonic, for Legends Arceus? Sorry, almost said Sonic Rangers there. Sorry, do you think I have my hopes a little too high for Pokemon Arceus? Do you think that Pokemon Arceus is going to be worth the wait and worth the money? Let me know down in the comments down below. And hey, if you're new here, please be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Oh, yes, I should also bring up to mention, down below inside the description, if you are a bit of an indie game developer or a developer on itch in general, I have a game jam going on called the Scare Me Shakeless Jam. If you want to join, go right ahead. Because basically, it's just a jam where basically you can submit a horror game and I'll play it for the month of scares, and, well, well, you get to see me play it. Basically, the reward is pre-promotion on this channel. Woo! But anyway, if you're looking for any kind of promotion or anything, please be sure to stop by, check out the jam, and be sure to join and submit a game. I mean, I really do not have any time limits with that. Be sure to check out the link down below, and hey, I'll see you all in the next video. This is Superchocolatemilkshake, signing off.